Can the metaverse help nonprofits with fundraising, marketing, and recruiting volunteers? Some people seem to think so. I wanted to do something a little bit different with this video, and that is to have a conversation with you, my dear change makers, in part because I am far from an expert on the metaverse and how it works and what it means and all of its implications, and I actually think that you all might be able to offer some helpful insights, and I hope you'll do that in the comments below. If we haven't met, my name is Amber Melanie Smith. I am a nonprofit founder and executive director. I make videos on YouTube all about nonprofits, social impact, social change, fundraising, etc. And definitely check out some more of my videos all about that. My videos are often how-tos and educational, and this is going to have a little bit of that, but as I said before, I hope to make it a conversation. So join in, weigh in, tell me what you think about this idea of using the metaverse to promote good causes, to help with social change, to help nonprofits. Definitely share your thoughts. And if you're looking for a little bit more information about me and what I do, and perhaps get some training and resources, check out my website, foundertofulltime.com. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I'm still kind of grappling with this metaverse concept and how it all works and its existential implications for humanity and human connection and all of that good stuff. Anything new that seems like it could possibly have the potential to make a difference in the world and promote and further good and important social change initiatives and social causes is something I'm going to be interested in, and that's why I picked this topic today. It's just something that's just emerging in the dialogue in the nonprofit world. We're at the very beginning of the conversation, and I think it's just fascinating to consider the possibilities. So welcome on the metaverse train to discussion about this topic, and perhaps, depending on how things go, it won't be the last. A couple things on my mind as we get into this. I consider myself a fairly tech-savvy person, but I will not be that person who's like the first in line to get the latest phone. I'm not a first adopter. I usually wait for people to like figure it out a little bit first before I try something, but pretty tech savvy. I'm also thinking about how I know, and the research really demonstrates how important and critical human connection is to furthering important social change initiatives. So all of that is on my mind as we kind of enter into this conversation. So I'm coming into this, as I said, with a little bit of a lack of full, complete, complex understanding of how it all works, and also a healthy dose of skepticism that something like the metaverse is going to allow for sufficient human connection to further social change initiatives. So let's get into that with that perspective in mind. All that said, with my many questions and my healthy skepticism aside, there are many nonprofit researchers and institutions who are starting to contemplate this question and put out articles on this topic. So I'm going to share some of the thoughts that they have about how the metaverse could be used for good instead of evil. For those of you who had to do some initial research on how people are actually defining what the metaverse even is, let's take a look at that first. So according to Wired magazine, the metaverse can include much of cyberspace, but I have found it helpful to think of it as essentially an interconnected virtual reality world. This is largely going to be nothing new to those who are already pretty into gaming. How it works is you might have an avatar or like a animated representation of you, the character, the person, who interacts in one virtual landscape and world over here made by one company or group, and then they're interconnected, so you can actually hop over to another one over here, and it's this whole connected dimension of worlds that you can interact with virtually. This could mean that you could carry digital items, so an inventory or clothing that your avatar is wearing. You could attend virtual events or gatherings or meetings. You could play games, etc. There's even emerging discussion about how it will yield its sort of own metaverse economy with people buying and selling digital goods. So let's get into what that means for nonprofits and how nonprofits might be able to tap into some of this, hopefully to further their cause. In a recent article, Nonprofit Tech for Good commented that nonprofits need to be the early explorers of the metaverse and get in on this early. They commented that at least at this stage, and as I record this, we're at the beginning of 2022, at least at this stage, nonprofits are fairly non-existent within the metaverse. And the article goes on to note that this is a problem, because if we want the metaverse to be used for social good, then nonprofits need to get in there early to help shape that and use their voice to influence the direction of the initiatives. So let's say you are thinking about getting your nonprofit or grassroots initiative or social change or social impact project involved in the metaverse. What are some of the ways that you might actually practically use the metaverse to further your cause? Let's talk about that. One major area for potential is nonprofit fundraising. You know, nonprofits are already doing a lot more virtual events, virtual fundraising, so this would just be a little bit further investment into something like that. But theoretically, you could host galas or concerts or conferences within the metaverse and use those as nonprofit fundraisers. You could do auctions or raffles for items in the metaverse as fundraisers for your organization, just like you would in the real world. I don't know why I did quotes, the real world's definitely real. And then of course you could potentially sell merchandise, digital goods, or NFTs in the metaverse too. Lots of people are already selling NFTs to benefit charities, so similar concept here, except in the metaverse. Another way nonprofits might use the metaverse that I think is interesting and probably would require a bit of creativity, but I think that there's some really innovative potential here, is in the realm of volunteer recruitment and volunteer management. Virtual volunteering or online volunteering has been a thing for several years, even before the COVID-19 pandemic already, but it really has been in the spotlight during the pandemic as people are trying to figure out how to help the causes that they care about when they can't leave their house and they need to use technology to connect with others. So this warrants some further investigation, and if you already are in the metaverse or have some additional experience that I don't have, I'd love to kind of hear how some different volunteer activities could play out in a metaverse environment. I can already see possibly some virtual volunteering happening in there, things like leading educational workshops or educating people about a cause, spreading the word about something, leading one of the fundraisers I just mentioned, using your skills to have meetings where you work out a problem. But I'd be really interested to hear some of your ideas. And another area that Nonprofit Tech for Good and others are proposing that the metaverse could help out nonprofits is in marketing. For example, nonprofits could purchase digital ad space or billboards within the metaverse. Nonprofits could host educational activities. I mentioned workshops earlier, trainings for their team members, opportunities for people to come learn more in depth about global or community-wide issues. Perhaps there's even some opportunities to create simulations or games that people can play to better understand an issue. There are already games and online, and I guess you can do some of them in person as simulations too, to help people understand what it's like to live below the poverty line or live with food insecurity. So it would be interesting to see if there are opportunities to create these experiences that allow people to build empathy and an understanding of a social issue through the metaverse as well. So share all your thoughts. What are you thinking? What are some creative ways that nonprofits could explore or be a part of or help build the metaverse? Share in the comments below. What ideas do you have that are not on this list? Are you a healthy skeptic like I am about how all this could work? Let me know. I will just be fascinated to read your thoughts about this emerging topic. Before I close out this video, a couple things to wrap up. As I mentioned before, check out my website for more information about me and the things I do at founder2fulltime.com. I have a newsletter if you are interested in getting resources like funding opportunities or articles about the latest social impact and nonprofit trends. The link to subscribe to that is below. You can check that out and subscribe and opt out anytime. I also have a group on Facebook, Change the World or Bust. If you would like to join our community of change makers from all around the world, come on and join us, and I hope to see you there. Once again, I'm Amber Melanie Smith, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.